You wake up in the morning, but your mind was up like 15 minutes before you. You get to work and you don't even know what to focus on. You have 30 unread text messages on your phone. You have 15 messages on Teams. You have 100 new emails in your inbox from just the last 15 minutes alone. There are probably some voicemails on your phone, but you haven't even gotten there yet. Someone in the office is actually trying to get your physical attention, but you don't even have time for them. You're double booked in 4 time slots before noon. Your boss wants an update on your big project, and you can literally feel your blood pressure rising. There's a term for this. It's called Hyperactive Hive Mind, and it's not healthy. Let's talk about it. Welcome to another episode of What's Jonathan Thinking? God. Hello, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that overly dramatic intro. I'm not that angry, I promise. At least my therapist tells me I'm not. Welcome back to another episode of What's Jonathan Thinking, and thank you to everyone who wished me a happy birthday. New episode, new decade. I feel like I'm just getting started. Thank you for all your well wishes. The warmth and support from this community is simply infectious. I'm so blessed. In the intro, I talked about hyperactive hive mind. This is a concept coined by Dr. Cal Newport and shared in his new book called A Life Without Email. I'll get to a definition in a minute, but first, let's take a trip down memory lane. In the last 30 years, we've seen a sea change in how we communicate, collaborate, and work as professionals. In the 90s, email became adopted as a standard means of communicating in corporate America. It helped us eliminate costly and very much time-delayed communication methods like memos and snail mail letters. Who here remembers the interoffice memo envelopes? Speaking as someone who joined the corporate world in the 90s, email was exciting. It was fast and cool. Originally, I think we did experience a lift in productivity and connectedness when email was introduced. But in the early 2000s, email took on a different mode as mobile devices displaced pagers and desktops and enabled us to stay connected wherever we went. In 1999, Research in Motion introduced its first version of the BlackBerry. And then in 2007, Apple introduced the iPhone, and the world was changed. And suddenly, there was never a point where we were not connected to work. But we didn't stop there. Texting became commonplace, and then instant messaging became a new synchronous standard for communicating with our teammates, even though it was originally meant to be asynchronous. Every platform offered some solution for instantly connecting us with work, and our phones exacerbated this. Fast forward to today. Between email, SMS texting, instant messaging like Slack, Teams, Google Meet, and countless others, it is no wonder that knowledge workers around the world feel stressed, exhausted, and don't feel that they have time to just think and ponder and digest and absorb the information they obtain through all these channels. And oh, by the way, do you remember that other app on your device? I think it's called a phone. Does anyone still use that? No? Maybe I'm just old school. In our business world, in our fast-paced, uber-competitive world, many of us just roll with it. We don't ask why. We don't think about setting boundaries. We don't realize that it can be okay to not stay omni-connected to everything. And that has led to what Dr. Cal Newport defines as hyperactive hive mind. He defines this, and I'll put it on screen, as a state where modern knowledge workers are constantly bombarded with communication and collaboration demands, particularly through email and other digital platforms. In this state, individuals are expected to be constantly responsive, resulting in fragmented attention and reduced capacity for deep work. The term hive mind refers to the collective state where everyone is interconnected and constantly communicating, often leading to a culture of continuous, partial attention and information overload. This state can hinder productivity, creativity, and the ability to focus on meaningful tasks. Might I also add that it has the capacity to absolutely ruin relationships because we're never there. We might be at the date, but we're certainly not in the date. Newport argues that by understanding and addressing the dynamics of the hyperactive hive mind, individuals and organizations can reclaim their time and attention, for more focused and impactful work. And I would add, better business relationships. Dr. Newport offers that our constant state of hyperactive hive mind is contributing to the following maladies in our daily work environments. Number 1, constant distraction. Email creates a constant stream of notifications and interruptions, leading to fragmented attention and reduced productivity. Number 2, information overload. The volume of emails received can overwhelm even the most resilient of people, making it difficult to prioritize and respond effectively to important messages. Number 3, inefficient communication. Email often leads to long, convoluted threads and unnecessary CCs, resulting in massive productivity loss, and actually often elongates the time it takes to get things done. I mean, think about it. I have to send an email. Oh, wait, now I have to wait. Well, maybe I'll just Slack them. That's silly. Number 4, lack of context. Email lacks the context and nuance of face-to-face or synchronous communication, often leading to misinterpretations and misunderstandings. Especially in our global world where our team members may be trying to translate from their native tongue into a non-native language, but they don't understand the nuance. So the message might come across as potentially rude or patronizing. We've all experienced this when we respond to a perceived tone of voice that was largely in our heads and not how the message was intended to be received. But really, to understand how the message was intended, you might have to revert to synchronous communication methods like that dodgy phone app on your phone that you likely haven't used in a week. Number 5, dependency on reactionary workflow. Email encourages a reactionary response to incoming messages rather than proactively focusing on meaningful work. And I would add meaningful interactions with other people, leading to meaningful exchanges of information that can actually help us move our organizations forward. Again, somehow between the 90s and today, we have gotten so caught up in our digital world that we've completely lost sight that there used to be this analog world called in-person or even phone conversations that enabled us to hear and sometimes see the person we were talking to. I know that's a lot of personal interaction. It gets tough. You'll get over it. A few weeks ago, my boss called in the executive leadership team to be in person for our weekly ELT meeting. We all started updating our resumes. What? He wants to meet with us in person? What's going on? We all thought something must be wrong. Nothing was wrong. He just wanted to tell us something in person, like in a real person-to-person conversation. Imagine that. We made fun of him. Not too much. He approves our bonuses after all. Next, loss of control over time. Email can consume significant amounts of time, detracting from more valuable and fulfilling activities. Again, our devices go with us everywhere we go. Email and chat and all other asynchronous communication methods follow right along. And we go to the meetings, but we are constantly focused on our inboxes. We lose time that could have been spent paying attention. You have to ask yourself, are you curing cancer? Is someone going to die if that email gets read in 30 minutes instead of right this second? Reduce creativity and innovation. We are constantly being distracted. We are constantly context switching. When do you have time to dream, to synthesize, to digest, to process? Constant email communication can stifle creativity and innovation by limiting opportunities for deep, focused work. Overall, Dr. Newport argues that the widespread reliance on email in the modern workplace has negative consequences for individual well-being and organizational productivity. Ultimately, he offers that the status quo of knowledge worker expectations is unsustainable and contributes to poor mental health. Let me net it out. Things need to change. So what can we do? Well, for starters, I highly encourage you to read both Deep Work and the newest entry from Dr. Newport's lineup called A Life Without Email. In the latter, he offers a few comments about the impact email has had on our lives, but most importantly, he offers some clear strategies for reducing the noise in our lives and shifting our daily lives to be more productive and ultimately more satisfying. Here's a quick summary of what he encourages. Number 1, implement a time block schedule. Allocate specific blocks of time for checking and responding to emails rather than constantly interrupting your workflow. This allows for focused work without constant email distractions Email is, after all, an asynchronous communication method, meaning it's not meant to be responded to right away. It's informational. If someone needs something right away, you should pick up the phone and call. That's my policy. Number 2, relearn what is asynchronous and synchronous communication. Email is and was never meant to be a synchronous communication method, so stop making it synchronous. People can wait. If they couldn't wait, they would have called. Remind yourself and your teams to treat communication methods in the manner in which they were meant to be used. Even text messaging and instant messaging is still asynchronous. You can respond as your time permits. Allow yourself to be busy doing something else. Number 3, minimize CCs and FYIs. What are these anyway? I'll tell you. CC and FYI means CYA. That's all you're doing. Discourage the use of unnecessary CCs and FYIs in emails, as these can clutter inboxes and lead to information overload. Encourage a culture of concise and relevant communication, and as a leader, use synchronous communication time to review the most important items you need to know about with your team members. Number 4, utilize process-centric communication. Focus on communicating around specific processes or projects rather than engaging in endless email threads. How many times have you read an email and felt, it should have been a meeting? Conversely, how many times have you been in a meeting that just as well could have been an email? Encourage your teams to use time wisely and choose a communication method that is right for the messaging. Also, this is just me, adopt thread max rules. For me and my team, 3 threads max. After 3 threads, someone needs to get on a conference call because that problem or whatever it is not going to be resolved over email. This can streamline communication, reduce the need for excessive email exchanges, and most importantly, improve your team dynamics. Number 5, implement a synchronous office hours system. Set aside specific hours during the day for synchronous communication. Live, real-time, in-person meetings that enable you to reduce and or eliminate the need for constant email back and forth. Encourage regular feedback sessions too. Implement dedicated time for meeting with team members to address any issues or concerns, reducing the need for constant email communication for feedback. Again, and also, tone of voice. Email is a terrible method for providing feedback. The only reason to do this, honestly, is to create a paper trail for HR purposes. Batch process emails. This is my favorite. Rather than checking emails throughout the day, dedicate time in your day to be focused on processing emails. Batch process them during designated time blocks to increase efficiency and minimize distractions. Use email filters and labels. Organize emails using filters and labels to prioritize and categorize them, making it easier to manage and respond to them effectively. Filters and labels give you that clear visual indicator of why something deserves your attention and what focus bucket that item should be in. We all know who our VIPs are. Our boss, our key clients, our benefactors. Okay, fine, our loved ones too. These are the people who should get our immediate attention. If I send an email to Taylor Swift, I'm going to guess it might take a while for her to respond, if she does at all. I'm not a VIP in her life, okay? Fine. She doesn't know me at all, but I'm guessing that there are people in her immediate circle who have made it into that filter. The rest get filtered out, as they should. It's noise. Filter out the noise. I could keep going, but I think you get my point. We need to adopt new ways of working. And as leaders, we must have time in our days to think. Without it, we are simply never going to unearth that game-changing strategy that will be the key to our success. It starts with email, but it's more than just email. It's how we manage our days. It's all the distractions that we tolerate that we have to grow strong and just say no to. If you don't force the change, no one will. So be the change. Your mental health will thank you for it. These are just a few of my thoughts and gleanings from reading Dr. Newport's incredible books. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Again, I highly recommend reading anything by Dr. Newport. He's amazing. His research and the way he distills rather complex topics into easily digestible nuggets is just absolutely amazing. And I think we can all benefit from listening to his message. Until then, I will see you next time for another episode. Make it a great week. And thank you for tuning in to What's Jonathan Thinking?